Hello, and welcome to my channel.
Amelia Grant sat in her cramped London apartment, surrounded by stacks of papers and half-filled notebooks. She had always dreamed of becoming a writer, but her aspirations seemed to be slipping away with each passing day. The city's bustling streets offered little inspiration, and she longed for an adventure that would ignite her creativity. It was on a cold winter evening that fate finally smiled upon Amelia. A letter arrived, inviting her to join the esteemed passengers aboard the Midnight Express, a luxurious night train that traveled from London to Edinburgh. The invitation was unexpected, but Amelia knew it was an opportunity she couldn't pass up. As she boarded the train, her heart raced with anticipation. The Midnight Express was a sight to behold, with its polished brass fittings and plush velvet upholstery. The opulent interiors exuded an air of mystery, as if secrets were whispered within the train's elegant walls. Amelia found herself drawn to the allure of the unknown, eager to uncover the stories hidden within. The train conductor greeted Amelia with a warm smile and directed her to her compartment. She stepped inside and was immediately captivated by the lavish surroundings. The walls were adorned with intricate woodwork, and the soft glow of the lamp cast a warm ambience. A plush armchair beckoned her to sit and soak in the beauty of her surroundings. As the train pulled away from the station, Amelia gazed out of the window at the fading lights of London. She felt a surge of excitement and anticipation, knowing that this journey held the potential to change her life. With a deep breath, she settled into her seat, ready to embark on an adventure that would ignite her creativity and unlock the mysteries of the Midnight Express. Please support my channel by liking and subscribing. Amelia settled into her compartment, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She couldn't help but notice the variety of passengers on board. A dashing gentleman in a tailored suit sat across from her, engrossed in a book. A glamorous woman with a feathered hat and a secretive smile occupied the compartment next door. And there were others too, each with their own air of intrigue. As the train began its journey, Amelia struck up conversations with fellow passengers and staff. She listened intently to their tales of adventure and heartbreak, absorbing every word like a sponge. Amelia's curiosity burned within her, fueling her desire for inspiration and hidden truths. In one conversation, a porter mentioned a rumor of stolen jewels on board. Another passenger spoke cryptically about a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. These snippets of information only deepened Amelia's fascination with the train and its passengers. She couldn't resist the allure of the unknown, and she was determined to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the Midnight Express. Amelia's first encounter was with Mr. Jameson, the gentleman in the tailored suit. He had a distinguished air about him, and his eyes held a hint of melancholy. Intrigued by his aura, Amelia struck up a conversation with him as they both reached for the tea tray in the corridor. "Good evening, Mr. Jameson," Amelia greeted him with a warm smile. "May I join you for a cup of tea?" Mr. Jameson looked up from his book, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Certainly, Miss Grant," he replied, gesturing for her to take a seat across from him. "It's not often one finds such pleasant company on this train." Amelia poured herself a cup of tea, taking a moment to savor its warmth before speaking. "I must admit, Mr. Jameson, I couldn't help but notice the air of mystery surrounding this train. Have you encountered any peculiar occurrences during your travels?" Mr. Jameson's gaze turned distant as memories seemed to flood his mind. "Ah, Miss Grant, the Midnight Express is no ordinary train," he began, his voice tinged with a hint of sadness. "I once encountered a man with a scarred face on this very journey. He appeared out of thin air, and just as suddenly, he vanished. It was as if he were a ghost." Amelia's eyes widened with intrigue. "A ghost? How extraordinary. Do you believe there's more to this story?" Mr. Jameson sighed, his gaze fixed on some distant point beyond the compartment walls. "I cannot say for certain, Miss Grant. But there is something peculiar about this train, something that lingers in the air. Perhaps you will uncover the truth during your journey." Amelia thanked Mr. Jameson for his insight and bid him farewell, her mind buzzing with possibilities. She couldn't wait to delve deeper into the mysteries of the Midnight Express. As the journey continued, Amelia's interactions with the passengers and staff became increasingly revealing. The gentleman in the tailored suit, Mr. Jameson, had a haunted look in his eyes, hinting at a past he wished to forget. The glamorous woman, Mrs. Sinclair, possessed a captivating charm that masked a deeper sorrow. And the porter, young and eager, seemed to know more than he let on. Amelia's conversations were filled with veiled hints and cryptic clues. She listened intently, piecing together the puzzle of the Midnight Express. Each passenger had their own secrets and motivations, and Amelia was determined to uncover them all. In one conversation with Mr. Jameson, he spoke of a mysterious encounter he had on a previous journey. He mentioned a man with a scarred face who vanished into thin air. This revelation only deepened Amelia's intrigue, as she sensed that this man held a key to the secrets of the train. Amelia's curiosity led her to Mrs. Sinclair, the glamorous woman with the feathered hat. She had observed Mrs. Sinclair from afar, noticing the way she carried herself with an air of mystery. One evening, As they both found themselves in the observation car, Amelia mustered the courage to strike up a conversation. "Good evening, Mrs. Sinclair," Amelia greeted her, a smile playing on her lips. "I couldn't help but notice your intriguing presence on this train. Might I have the pleasure of your company?" Mrs. Sinclair's eyes flickered with surprise, but she quickly composed herself and gestured for Amelia to join her at a table overlooking the passing landscape. "Of course, Miss Grant. It's not often one finds such curiosity in a fellow passenger." Amelia took a seat, her gaze fixed on Mrs. Sinclair's enigmatic smile. "Tell me, Mrs. Sinclair, what brings you aboard the Midnight Express? Is there a story behind those captivating eyes?" Mrs. Sinclair's smile faded ever so slightly, and her eyes held a distant sadness. "Ah, Miss Grant, we all carry our stories within us, don't we? Some are meant to be shared, while others remain hidden in the depths of our hearts." Amelia leaned forward, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. "I believe there's more to your story, Mrs. Sinclair. I sense a longing in your eyes, a hidden sorrow that yearns to be understood. Will you share it with me?" Mrs. Sinclair hesitated for a moment, her gaze searching Amelia's face for sincerity. Finally, she nodded and began to speak in a hushed tone. "You are perceptive, Miss Grant," Mrs. Sinclair confessed. "Behind this facade of glamour and charm lies a woman burdened by secrets and regrets. I was once a renowned actress, but my career was cut short by a scandal that tore my life apart. I sought solace aboard the Midnight Express, hoping to find redemption or perhaps a chance to start anew." Amelia listened intently, her heart aching for Mrs. Sinclair's pain. "Thank you for sharing your story, Mrs. Sinclair. I believe that everyone deserves a second chance, and I hope that this journey brings you the peace and healing you seek." Mrs. Sinclair smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. "You have a kind heart, Miss Grant. I can sense the writer within you, yearning to bring stories to life. Perhaps this train holds the inspiration you seek." Amelia thanked Mrs. Sinclair for her honesty and bid her farewell, her mind swirling with the revelations she had uncovered. The Midnight Express was indeed a treasure trove of secrets, and Amelia was determined to uncover them all. Amelia's pursuit of truth intensified as the train hurtled through the night. She spent hours poring over her notes, connecting dots, and unraveling clues. The tension on board grew palpable as Amelia delved deeper into the mystery of the Midnight Express. She sought out the porter, whose name was Thomas, and questioned him about the stolen jewels. Thomas hesitated at first, but eventually confessed that he had overheard whispers among the staff. There was indeed a thief among them, someone who knew the train's secrets all too well. Amelia's determination only grew stronger as she realized the stakes were higher than she had imagined. She knew she had to act quickly to uncover the truth before it was too late. With a sense of urgency, she continued her investigation, following the threads that led her closer to the heart of the mystery. One evening, as she made her way through the train's narrow corridors, Amelia stumbled upon a hidden compartment tucked away behind an inconspicuous door. Curiosity piqued, she cautiously opened the door and stepped inside, her heart pounding with anticipation. The compartment was dimly lit, with a single desk covered in papers and a flickering oil lamp casting eerie shadows on the walls. Amelia's eyes scanned the room, taking in the stacks of documents and photographs scattered across the desk. It was a secret hideaway, a place where someone had been meticulously piecing together the puzzle of the Midnight Express. As Amelia sifted through the papers, her heart raced with excitement. She discovered newspaper clippings detailing unsolved crimes that had occurred on the train, letters from passengers recounting strange occurrences, and even a map marking hidden compartments and secret passages within the train. Amelia's mind raced as she connected the dots. The thief among them had been using these hidden spaces to carry out their nefarious deeds, disappearing into thin air just like Mr. Jameson had described. The Midnight Express was not only a luxurious train, but also a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be unraveled. As the train neared its destination, Amelia's investigation reached its climax. The tension on board was palpable, as passengers exchanged nervous glances and whispered among themselves. Amelia knew she was on the brink of a revelation, and her heart raced with anticipation. With her newfound knowledge, Amelia sought out Mr. Jameson, Mrs. Sinclair, and Thomas the porter, gathering them in her compartment for a final confrontation. She shared her discoveries, presenting the evidence she had gathered in her secret investigation. "You see," Amelia began, her voice steady but filled with righteous anger, "the Midnight Express is not just a train but a stage for deception and thievery. There's a thief among us, one who has been using hidden compartments and secret passages to carry out their crimes." Mr. Jameson's eyes widened in disbelief, while Mrs. Sinclair's expression turned from surprise to unease. Thomas the porter shifted nervously, his eyes darting around the room. Amelia continued, her voice filled with determination. "But I have uncovered their identity. The thief is none other than Mrs. Sinclair, the glamorous woman with the feathered hat." Gasps filled the compartment as the truth sank in. Mrs. Sinclair's face paled, and she sank into a chair, her eyes filled with guilt. I can explain," she stammered, her voice trembling. It was desperation that led me down this path. I had lost everything and saw no other way to survive. Amelia's gaze softened as she looked at Mrs. Sinclair. Desperation may have clouded your judgment, but it does not justify your actions, Mrs. Sinclair. You have hurt innocent people and tarnished the beauty of this train. The authorities were called, and Mrs. Sinclair was apprehended. The remaining passengers were left in shock, their journey abruptly ended by the truth that had been unveiled. With the revelation of Mrs. Sinclair's crimes, the train came to a screeching halt. The authorities arrived, and order was restored to the Midnight Express. The remaining passengers were questioned, their statements recorded as evidence for the impending trial. As Amelia reflected on the events that had transpired, she couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Her curiosity had led her down a path filled with danger and deception, but it had also brought justice to light. She realized that the pursuit of truth could have consequences, but it was a risk she was willing to take. In the days that followed, Amelia found herself surrounded by reporters eager to hear her account of the Midnight Express mystery. She shared her experiences, recounting the secrets she had uncovered and the courage it took to confront Mrs. Sinclair. Amelia's actions had not only exposed a thief, but also brought attention to the hidden stories that lay within the Midnight Express. Her journey had transformed her from an aspiring writer into a journalist with a hunger for uncovering hidden truths. And as she walked away from the train, she knew that her adventure had only just begun. The Midnight Express became a legend in its own right, a train that carried not only passengers but also the weight of their secrets. Its allure remained, drawing new travelers seeking adventure and inspiration. And Amelia Grant, the writer-turned-journalist, continued to chase stories that would captivate the world, forever grateful for the Midnight Express and the mysteries it had unveiled.